So, Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 24, Text 72. Idam aha purasmakam.
Idam aha purasmakam.
Bhagavan Vishwa Srikpati.
Bhagavan Vishwashripati.
Bhrigav Adinam Atmajanam.
Bhrigav Adinam Atmajanam.
Tisrikshu Sisrishatam.
Shishkrishtam Shishrikshatam.
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. This prayer was first spoken to us by Lord Brahma, the master of all creators. The creators, headed by Bhrigu, were instructed in these prayers because they wanted to create. So, who has been speaking the prayers and to who?
Lord Śiva has been speaking the prayers.
Yes, that's right. And to who has he been speaking?
To the Prachetas.
Prachetas, that's right. Yeah. So Lord Brahma was created by Lord Vishnu. Then Lord Brahma created Lord Shiva and other great sages headed by Bhrigu Muni. These great sages included Bhrigu, Marichi, Atreya, Vashisht, and others. So the 7 great sages. All these great sages are in charge of creating population. Since there were not very many living entities in the beginning, Vishnu entrusted Brahma with the business of creation, and Brahma in his turn created many hundreds and thousands of demigods and great sages to continue with the creation because it's Brahma's service. That's the position. Brahma is a post. And, like chief minister is a post, president is a post, and then they have the duties. So it's Brahma's duty to continue with the creation. He's the secondary creator. At the same time, Lord Brahma cautioned all his sons and disciples by reciting the prayers now recited by Lord Shiva. The material creation means material engagement. But material engagements can be counteracted if we always remember our relationship with the Lord, as that relationship is described in these prayers recited by Lord Shiva. In this way, we can remain constantly in touch with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Thus, despite our engagement in the creation, we cannot be deviated from the path of Krishna consciousness. The Krishna consciousness movement is especially meant for this purpose. In this material world, everyone is engaged in some particular occupational duty which is prescribed in the Varna Sharma Dharma. Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, Shudras, and everyone are engaged in their occupational duty. But if one remembers his first duty, keeping in constant contact with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, everything will be successful. So, we have material duties based on the Varna and Ashram that we are in. So we have our material duties, but we have to remember that we are spirit souls, and so we have our spiritual duty, that we have an eternal loving relationship with Krishna. So it is our duty in this human life to revive this relationship. And that can be done by constantly chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. If one simply executes the rules and regulations of Varna Sharma Dharma in the role of a Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, or Shudra, and keeps busy and does not remember one's eternal relationship with the Lord, one's business and activities, as well as occupational duties, will simply be a waste of time. This is confirmed in the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam 1-8. Dharma swa nushtita pumsam vishvakshena katha suya notpadayet yadi ratim shrama eva hi kevalam. Shrama eva hi kevalam, Bhagavatam is saying. Bhagavatam is saying you're so busy doing your occupational duty. But by doing this duty, if you're not coming to devotional service, then it is Shrama eva hi kevalam. It is, it's just simply a useless waste of time and labor. Because when we are doing our duties, it is to it is to bring us to Krishna consciousness. The conclusion is that even if one is busy executing his occupational duty, his business in Krishna consciousness need not be hampered. He has simply to execute the devotional service of Shravanam Kirtanam, hearing, chanting, and remembering. One need not abandon his occupational duty, because we may think, oh, Krishna is telling us don't do anything, Bhagavatam is telling us don't do anything, don't do any work, and renounce from the world. But no, the whole premise of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is telling Arjuna, do your duty, you're a Kshatriya, you do the duty of fighting. So Lord Chaitanya said the same thing, that stay in whatever position we are, do whatever duties we need to do, but hear and chant. And if we have heard well, we'll be able to chant. And if we have heard and chanted well, we will be able to remember Krishna. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 18:46, Yata pravritir bhutanam yena sarvam idam tatam swakarmanatam abhyarchya siddhim vindati manava. By worship of the Lord, who is the source of all beings and who is all pervading, man can, in the performance of his own duty, attain perfection. So, doing our duty for the pleasure of Krishna, remembering Krishna while doing our duty. Hearing and chanting helps us to do that. Thus, one can continue with his occupational duty, but if he worships the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as Lord Shiva herein prescribes, he attains his perfection of life. Swanushthitasya dharmasya samsiddhir haritoshanam Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 2, Text 13. We should continue executing our occupational duties, but if we try to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead by our duties, then our lives will be perfected. So, doing our duties for the satisfaction of Krishna. Understanding that everyone is a part and parcel of Krishna. Every living entity has a loving relationship with Krishna. Te vayam nodita sarve.
Te vayam nodita sarve.
Praja sarge prajeshvara.
Praja sarge prajeshvara.
Anena dvasta tamasa.
Anena dvashta tamasa.
Sisrikshamo vividha praja.
Sisrikshamo veda praja.
When all the Prajapatis were ordered to create by Lord Brahma, he chanted these prayers in praise of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and became completely free from all ignorance. Thus, we were able to create different types of living entities. In this verse, we can understand that the various types of living entities were created simultaneously at the very beginning of the creation. The nonsensical Darwinian theory of evolution is not applicable here. It is not that intelligent human beings did not exist millions of years ago. On the contrary, it is understood that the most intelligent creature, Lord Brahma, was first created. Modern science teaches us that, oh, there's been an evolution, that man came from ape, that earlier man was not civilized, but the spiritual texts, they teach us that civilized man has been there since time immemorial. In fact, Lord Brahma was created first, and he's the most intelligent in this universe. So then Lord Brahma created other saintly sages like Marichi, Bhrigu, Atreya, Vashishta, and Lord Shiva. They in their turn created different types of bodies according to karma. In Srimad Bhagavatam, Lord Kapila Dev told his mother that the living entity gets a particular type of body in accordance with his work, and that this body is decided upon by higher authorities. You know, we can't choose. We don't have a questionnaire to fill out which planet, which body, which community, which uh, species, which family. No. This is given to us by higher authorities. The demigods are there. Nature's laws are set. And how do we get it? And depending on our karma. How have we acted? The higher thought and our desire. The higher authorities as appointed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead are Lord Brahma and all other Prajapatis and Manus. Thus, from the beginning of creation, it can be seen that the first creature is the most intelligent. It is not that so called modern intelligence has developed by the gradual process of evolution. As stated in Brahma Vaivarta Puran, there is a gradual evolutionary process, but it is not that the body is evolving. All the bodily forms are already there. It is the spiritual entity or spiritual spark within the body that is being promoted by the laws of nature under the supervision of superior authority. So the evolution is there in the sense that the soul goes from one body to another. All the forms are made at one time. We heard about it in second or third canto of Bhagavatam, that how the different entities were created. So we can understand from this verse that from the very beginning of creation, different varieties of living entities were existing. It is not that some of them have become extinct. Everything is there. It is due to our lack of knowledge that we cannot see things in the proper perspective. So we may think some living entity has become extinct, but they may be living on another planet, because we don't have information of other planets, but there are living entities on other planets too. In this verse, the word dvasta tamasa is very important, for without being free of ignorance, one cannot control the creation of different types of living entities. Yeah, because there are 8,400,000 species of life. That number cannot change. So when we say, oh, some living species has become extinct, means that number is going to change. But that's not so. They may travel from one planet to another. They may refuse to come on a particular planet. But they all exist, 8,400,000 species. As stated in Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 31, Text 1, Daiva Netrena, bodies are awarded under the supervision of superior powers. How can these superior powers control the evolutionary process of the living entity if they are not free from all perfection? The followers of the Vedic instructions cannot accept the Darwinian theory of evolution, for it is marred by imperfect knowledge. So the followers of Vedic instructions, those who have faith in the Vedas, they follow the authority of the Veda because they know the Vedas is beyond any defect, spoken by Krishna himself. So it is perfect knowledge. Any comments? Questions? Because sometimes modern science tells us this species has become extinct, but here we are hearing that no, they all exist. Atedam nityada yukto
अतेदं नित्यदा युक्तो
japan avahita puman
जपन् अवहित पुमान्
achirat shreya apnoti.
अचिरात् श्रेय आप्नोति.
Vasudeva Parayana.
Vasudeva Parayana.
A devotee of Lord Krishna, whose mind is always absorbed in him, who, with great attention and reverence, chants this stotra prayer, will achieve the greatest perfection of life without delay. Perfection means becoming a devotee of Lord Krishna. Now, we have different meanings of perfection. We may want to become perfect in particular activity, um, create something perfect, each of us. But here, Bhagavatam is saying perfection means becoming a devotee of Lord Krishna. As stated in the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam 1.2.28, Vasudeva Paraveda, Vasudeva Paramakha. The ultimate goal of life is Vasudev or Krishna. Ultimate goal. Again, we make so many goals. We make health goals, financial goals, emotional goals, dietary goals, so many different goals. But the real goal of life is Krishna, to revive our loving relationship with Krishna. Any devotee of Lord Krishna can attain all perfection, material gains, and liberation simply by offering prayers to him. So, perfection, material gains, and liberation. This is what Bhagavatam tells us, no? Akama sarva kama va moksha kama udaradi. Bhakti yogena tibrena yajate param purusham param. That no matter if we have no desire, akama, sarva kama, we have no desire, or we desire material gains, or we want liberation, simply engage in devotional service and Krishna will fulfill all our desires and give us perfection. There are many varieties of prayers to Lord Krishna chanted by great sages and great personalities such as Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva. So when we are praying to Krishna, we should recite the prayers which are there in the scriptures, which are spoken by the great devotees, because the devotees understand Krishna. They know how to properly glorify Krishna. Krishna is pleased by hearing such prayers. So when we want to chant prayers, we can chant these wonderful prayers of these various devotees. Lord Krishna is known as Shiva Vrinchi Nutam. Bhagavatam, Canto 11, Chapter 5, Text 33. Shiva means Lord Shiva, and Virinchi means Lord Brahma. Both of these demigods are engaged in offering prayers to Lord Vasudeva Krishna. If we follow in the footsteps of such great personalities and become devotees of Lord Krishna, our lives will become successful. So, following in the footsteps of the Mahajan, of the previous Acharyas, Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, they are Mahajans. Not imitating, we cannot imitate Lord Shiva, we cannot drink poison, but we can follow his instructions, chant the prayers he's chanting, become a devotee of Krishna. Unfortunately, people do not know the secret. Nate vidus swartha gatim hi Vishnu. They do not know that the real interest and the highest perfection of life is to worship Lord Vishnu Krishna. Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 5, Text 31. It is impossible to become satisfied by trying to adjust the external energy. Without being a devotee of Lord Krishna, one can only be baffled and confused. To save living entities from such a calamity, Lord Krishna points out in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 9, text 17. Bahunam janmanam ante jnanavan mam prapadyate vasudeva sarvam iti samahatma sudurlabha. After many, many births and deaths, a wise man surrenders unto me, knowing very well that I, Vasudev, am everything. Such a great soul is very rare. We can achieve whatever benediction we want simply by becoming devotees of Vasudeva. So whatever we desire, Krishna can fulfill all our desires. So we are encouraged to worship Krishna. Shreyasam iha sarvesham
श्रेयसाम् इह सर्वेषां
Jnanam nihashreyasam param.
ज्ञानं निःश्रेयसं श्रेयसं परम्
Sukham tarati dushparam.
सुखं तरति दुष्पारं
Jnana nor vyasana navan vam.
ज्ञाननोर्व्यसनार्णवम्.
In this material world, there are different types of achievement, but of all of them, the achievement of knowledge is considered to be the highest because one can cross the ocean of nations only on the boat of knowledge. Otherwise, the ocean is impassable. Actually, everyone is suffering within this material world due to ignorance. So, the root cause of our suffering is ignorance. The immediate cause is our sinful reactions. The immediate cause is, oh, we have acted sinfully in the past, so we are getting the reactions of our sinful activities. So, but then why do we act sinfully? Why? Because of our ignorance, our forgetfulness of Krishna. Every day we see that a person without knowledge commits some criminal act and is later arrested and punished, despite the fact that he actually may not have been conscious of his sinful activity. Such ignorance prevails throughout the world. People do not consider how they are risking their lives in an attempt to have illicit sex life, kill animals to satisfy their tongue, enjoy intoxication, and gamble. It is very regrettable that the leaders of the world do not know of the effects of these sinful activities. They are instead taking things very easily and are succeeding in making the ocean of nations wider and wider. Opposed to such ignorance, full knowledge is the greatest achievement within this material world. We can practically see that one who has sufficient knowledge is saved from many dangerous pitfalls in life. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 7.19, Bahunam Janmanam Ante Jnanavan Mam Prapadyate. When one actually becomes wise, he surrenders unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Vasudeva Sarvamiti Sa Mahatma Sudurlabha. Such a great soul is very rarely to be found. So, even in material life, when we have to do a particular activity, if we have knowledge of it, it gets easier. No? We can avoid all the, um, like it could be anything. Even it could be cooking, it could be some computer graphics, like anything. When we have the know-how, then we can do that activity efficiently, can get a good result of it. But when we don't have the knowledge of it, we may take very long time, we may create a mess. So similarly, understanding knowledge of our self-realization, knowledge of Krishna. When we have this knowledge, then we can be safe from this ocean of nations. This Krishna consciousness movement is determined to open wide the eyes of the so-called leaders who are full of ignorance and thus save them from the many pitfalls and dangerous conditions of life. The greatest danger is the danger of getting a body lower than that of a human being. It was with great difficulty that we attained this human form of life just to take advantage of this body and re-establish our relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead Govinda. So we have gotten this human body, after very, very long time, 8,400,000 species. 8 million, only 400,000 are human beings. 8 million is all the other varieties, trees and birds, aquatics, the animals. So it's, after passing through 8 million species, then there is this 400,000 types of human beings. And then, it's been given to us to revive our relationship, re-establish our relationship with Krishna. Lord Shiva advises, however, that those who take advantage of his prayers will very soon become devotees of Lord Vasudeva and thus will be able to cross the ocean of nations and make life perfect. So Lord Shiva is also giving benediction. He's saying, whoever chants my prayers, they'll become a devotee and they will be able to go back home, back to Godhead. They will get this perfect knowledge. Cross the ocean of nations means liberation, means getting the perfect knowledge, transcendental knowledge. Becoming devotee of Lord Vasudeva means reviving our relationship with Krishna, and the life becomes perfect by chanting Lord Shiva's prayers.
Hare Krishna.
Yamam, Hare Krishna.
Yeah. Just want to check like how they say that the dinosaurs are extinct and things like that. So it is not
Yeah.
extinct, it's just that the soul has taken up another body. That's what it
See, this is
says.
what even that was coming to my mind when we were reading that section, you know. I was wondering
Yeah.
if anyone else was going to bring it up. So,
The scheme,
but
yeah.
we heard that, you know, there's no species that can get extinct. We just heard.
Extinct, it
So,
cannot, right? So that
yeah,
means
maybe
it's just going to another body, right? That's what
uh,
it's.
maybe those species are not on the Earth planet anymore. Maybe they are on another planet, you know. The soul
Okay.
anyway can never get extinct. The soul
Yeah, so
always
that's what,
exists.
like maybe it's taking up another body, na? Okay, so
But
it's
the
not
species also But the species
okay.
also cannot get extinct. All 8,400,000 species exist. This is what we are hearing, you know. So immediately dinosaur came to my mind because we learned
Okay.
that dinosaurs are extinct. But here
Extinct.
Bhagavatam
Mm,
is saying all the species exist. No species goes missing. The way we could understand it or try to reconcile it is maybe they're on another planet. Who knows, you know?
mm,
Like the demigods, they used to come to this planet Earth before, but they don't come anymore because it's uninhabitable for them. So they don't visit
mm,
demigods, but it doesn't mean I'm sorry, the demigods don't visit the Earth, but it doesn't mean the demigods have become extinct. They're on higher planets.
no.
So it
Yeah.
could be this way. We could, you know, understand it this way. Who
Mm,
knows, right?
mm, mm.
Yeah. So anyway, but the point, of course, is to understand that we are not the body, we are the soul.
Yes.
And we don't need to get into an argument with anyone because somebody may be really very strongly saying, no, no, dinosaurs really have gotten extinct. Okay, it's all right. Everyone has a right to think what they want to, right? We don't have to get into a
Yeah, what how they say that
really,
Neil Armstrong reached the moon, but actually it's not true,
yeah,
right?
exactly.
Like
So we do, yeah. So we don't need to get into any kind of a heated debate or argument with anyone, you know?
it's-
We, I mean, each has a
right.
choice, right? And the main point to understand is that we are all not the body, we are all spirit souls, and that we need to get out of here. You know, what difference does it make if somebody went to the moon or not?
Yeah.
And let's just try to get very quickly out of the material world.
Mm.
Mm. So, ya imam shraddhaya yukto
Ya imam shraddhaya yukto
madgitam bhagavadstavam
madgitam bhagavadstavam
adhiyano duraratyam
adiyano duraratyam
harim aradhayati aso.
harim aradayati asau.
Although rendering devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead and worshipping Him are very difficult, if one vibrates or simply reads this stotra prayer, composed and sung by me, he will very easily be able to invoke the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Lord Shiva is so compassionate and so kind, you know. He's saying, he's saying, I know it's very difficult to engage in devotional service. Uh, so, but you just read my prayer or hear my prayer, and you will be able to get Krishna's mercy. It is especially significant that Lord Shiva is a pure devotee of Lord Vasudev. Vaishnavanam yatha Shambhu. Amongst all Vaishnavas, Lord Shiva is the topmost. Consequently, Lord Shiva has a sampradaya, a Vaishnava disciplic succession called the Rudra Sampradaya. At the present moment, those who belong to the Vishnu Swami Sampradaya of Vaishnavas come from Rudra, Lord Shiva. Vishnu Swami, he is the Acharya of this Sampradaya, Rudra Sampradaya. Like Madhvacharya is the Acharya in our line, the Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya. Or like Ramanacharya, he is the Acharya of the Sri Vaishnavas, the line coming from Lakshmi Devi. Or Nimbarka Acharya, he is the Acharya in the line coming from Fokumaras. So to become a devotee of Lord Krishna Vasudeva is very, very difficult. The word especially used in this connection is Duraradhya. The worship of the demigods is not very difficult, but becoming a devotee of Lord Vasudeva, Krishna, is not so easy. However, if one adheres to the principles and follows in the footsteps of the higher authorities, as advised by Lord Shiva, one can easily become a devotee of Lord Vasudeva. This is also confirmed by Prahlad Maharaj. Devotional service cannot be practiced by a mental speculator. You know, many people say, oh, I'm not going to take up bhakti because bhakti is too easy. I'm going to do something which is more difficult. Why would somebody want to do something more difficult? If one can get perfection by something easy, then it should be taken up, right? But because bhakti is not very easy, that's the reason many people don't take it up. Because we have to really give up our false ego. We have to surrender to Krishna. We have to accept, oh my God, there is someone who's higher than me, and that I have to surrender to him, and that's not very easy. So, anyway, devotional service becomes easy when we follow the footsteps of the devotees, when we associate with devotees. Devotional service is a special attainment which can be acquired only by a person who has surrendered to a pure devotee. Yeah, hearing from a pure devotee. Srila Prabhupada is saying this. So when we hear from a devotee, we follow their instructions. Surrender means following the instructions, taking up what they are telling us to do. As confirmed by Prahlad Maharaj, Mahiyasam Padarajo Bhishekam Niskinchananam Na Ranita Yavat. Unless one accepts the dust of the lotus feet of a pure devotee who is free from all material contamination, one cannot enter into the devotional service of the Lord. Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 5, Text 32. Taking the dust of the lotus feet of a pure devotee, one can actually roll in the dust of the lotus feet of a pure devotee and get pure devotional service. Accepting the dust of the lotus feet of a devotee also means following the instruction. Following the instruction. So we can understand it in both the ways, that actually physically putting the dust of the lotus feet of the devotee on one's head, rolling in the dust. As we see the devotees in Vrindavan, they're rolling in the dust. Also in Navadvip Parikram, we see that. Okay. Or also can do that, we accept the, follow the instructions. Vindate Purusho Vindate Purusho Mushmad.
Vindate Pucho Musmad.
Yad yad ichati asatvaram.
Yat yat ichati asatvaram.
Mad Gita Gita Suprita
Mad Gita Gitat Supritat.
Shreyasam Ekavallabhat.
Shreyasam Ekavallabhat.
Sorry, my Sanskrit is not very good. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is the dearmost objective of all auspicious benedictions. A human being who sings this song sung by me can please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Such a devotee, being fixed in the Lord's devotional service, can acquire whatever he wants from the Supreme Lord. So, Lord Shiva is giving a benediction that whoever is singing my prayers, he can please Krishna. And then he can ask Krishna for whatever he wants. And Krishna is going to give him whatever he's going to ask for. Lord Shiva is so compassionate. You can see the devotees, they're all so compassionate. Like we heard Maitreya Muni saying that whoever hears the glories of Prithu Maharaj, he can go back home, back to Godhead. Whoever hears 3 times can get whatever they want. Here, Lord Shiva is saying, you chant my prayers and you can get whatever you want. That's how Bhagavatam says, whatever you want, you just continue hearing Bhagavatam. Engage in devotional service. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 6.22, Yam labdhva chaparam labham manyate nadikam tata. If one can attain the favor of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he has nothing to aspire for, nor does he desire any other gain. I'm sorry. When Dhruv Maharaj became perfect by austerity and saw the Supreme Personality of Godhead face to face, he was offered any kind of benediction he wanted. However, Dhruva replied that he did not want anything, for he was perfectly satisfied with the benediction of seeing the Lord. Dhruva wanted a great kingdom, greater than Lord Brahma. So now he's seeing the Lord and he's like, okay, now I don't want anything. Everything, I was going for some broken piece of glass, he said. I didn't even know what I was asking for. And now I've gotten you, I don't need anything else. Except for the service of the Supreme Lord, whatever we want is called illusion. Krishnera Nityadas. Every living entity is an eternal servant of the Lord. Caitaniya Caritamita Madhya 20.108. So Caitanya Caritamita Madhya Leela, because Lord Chaitanya's pastimes are divided into 3. Earlier pastimes are called Adi Leela. Then his later, after his sannyas, the later pastimes are called Madhya Leela. Then his final pastimes are called Antya Leela. So therefore, when one engages in the service of the Lord, he realizes the highest perfection of life. A faithful servant can fulfill any desire by the grace of the Master. And one who engages in the transcendental loving service of the Lord has nothing to aspire for separately, because that's the perfection. We are always hankering, going from one body to another, one species to another, one planet to another, because we are not in our original position. But once we come in our original relationship with Krishna, there is nothing to aspire for. That's a perfect fit. Like a puzzle, a piece of puzzle. You keep trying to move it here, there. Is it going to fit it here, there, different places? But when it hits the spot, that's it. No need to. That's a complete situation, a perfect situation. So when we revive our loving relationship with Krishna, that is our perfect situation. There's nothing else to desire for then. All his desires are fulfilled simply by engaging constantly in the Lord's loving service. Lord Shiva shows that any devotee can be successful simply by chanting the prayers which he has recited. So this is the mercy of Lord Shiva. Idam ya kalya uttaya.
idam ya kalya utthaya
Pranjali Shraddhayanvita
Pranjali
pranjali
Shraddhayanvita
shraddhayanvita
Shrinu Yaksham Vayen Martyo
Shrunuyachirvaityo
Brahmin Murtyo
Muchyate Karma Bandhane.
Muchyate
Yate
karma
Karma.
bandhane.
A devotee who rises early in the morning and with folded hands chants these prayers sung by Lord Shiva and gives facility to others to hear them certainly becomes free from all bondage to fruitive activities. Mukti or liberation means becoming free from the results of fruitive activities, means getting free from this karma bandhana, action and reaction, no more karmic reactions. As stated in Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 10, Text 6, Muktir hit van yatha rupam swarupena vyavasthiti. Mukti means giving up all other activities and being situated in one's constitutional position. Each of us has a constitutional position. As we said, no, each puzzle, each piece of the puzzle has its own place that it needs to go to. And then it doesn't need to move around anywhere else. We have a constitutional position. We have a loving relationship with Krishna, eternal. In this conditional state, we are entangled by one fruitive activity after another. Karma bandhana means the bonds of fruitive activity. As long as one's mind is absorbed in fruitive activities, he has to manufacture plans for happiness. Let me do this, I'll be happy. Let me go there, I'll be happy. Let me try this, I'll be happy. That's what our mind is doing all the time. We are making plans all the time. Oh, if I should have done this, I would be happy. I shouldn't have done this, I would be happy. So the Bhakti Yoga process is different. For Bhakti Yoga means acting according to the order of the Supreme Authority. When we act under the direction of the Supreme Authority, we do not become entangled by fruitive results. For instance, Arjuna fought because the Supreme Personality of Godhead wanted him to. Therefore, he was not responsible for the outcome of fighting. Yeah, Arjuna, he does not get any sinful reactions. In fact, he's become famous as the hero of the Mahabharat war, Kurukshetra war. And it was his duty to fight. So, anyway, there is no question of him incurring any sinful reactions. In fact, Arjuna was saying, oh, no, 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 if I fight, I will get sins. But Krishna said, no, it's your duty to fight. If you don't fight, in fact, you will get sin. So, as far as devotional service is concerned, even hearing and chanting is as good as acting with our body, mind, and senses. Actually, hearing and chanting are also activities of the senses. When the senses are utilized for one's own sense gratification, they entangle one in karma. But when they are used for the satisfaction of the Lord, they establish one in bhakti. So we are encouraged to continue to hear and chant and hear and chant. Gitam Mayedam Narateva Nandana.
Sorry. Geetam mayetam naradeva nandana
Parasya Pumsa Paramatmana Stavam.
parasya
Parasya
pumsa
Purusha
paramatmanastavam
Paramatmanastavam
Japanta Ekagra Dhyasthapo Mahat.
japanta
Japanta
ekagdiyastapo mahad
Ekagradhyasvayamahat
Charadvam Ante Tata Apsyatepsitam.
charadvam ante
Charadvamante
tata
Tat
apsyate
Apsyate
sitam.
Achitam.
Sons of the King, the prayers I've recited to you are meant for pleasing the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Super Soul. I advise you to recite these prayers which are as effective as great austerities. In this way, when you are mature, your life will be successful and you will certainly achieve all your desired objectives without fail. If we persistently engage in devotional service, certainly all our desires will be fulfilled in due course of time. Thus, end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the 4th canto, 24th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam entitled Chanting the Song Sung by Lord Shiva. Such a beautiful chapter, such beautiful prayers. Isn't it? And we can see that by chanting the prayers of Lord Shiva, we can get perfection, we can get devotional service because he properly knows how to glorify Krishna. He knows how to please Krishna. That's why if we chant, then Krishna is being pleased. So, because I know it is popular to chant some prayers or something which are popular by tradition, but they're not bona fide. They're not coming in any scripture, but we still do it. Why? Because, oh, I was taught this way. It's been in my family tradition for many years. The whole society is doing it. But is those prayers purifying our heart or, pleasing Krishna? That's what we have to see. So chanting the prayers sung by the acharyas. Did anyone want to add or comment or question? So we continue reading chapter 25, the descriptions of the characteristics of King Puranjana. Maitreya Vachan.
Maitreya Uvacha
Iti Sandishya Bhagavan.
Iti Sandishya Bhagavan
Barhishade Abhipujita.
Barhishate Abhipujita
Pashyatam Raja Putranam.
Pashyatam Rajaputranam
Tatraivan Tardadehara.
Tatrevan Tardadehara.
The great sage Maitreya continued speaking to Vidur. My dear Vidur, in this way, Lord Shiva instructed the sons of King Barhishat. The sons of the king also worship Lord Shiva with great devotion and respect. Finally, Lord Shiva became invisible to the princess. This chapter contains a great lesson concerning the monarchical kingdom in the days of yore. When King Barhishat was considering retiring from the royal duties, he sent his sons to perform austerities in order to become perfect kings for the welfare of the citizens. At the same time, King Barishat was being instructed by the great sage Narad about the material world and the living entity who wants to enjoy it. It is therefore very clear how the kings and princes were trained to take charge of a kingdom. Welfare activities for the benefit of the citizens were aimed at understanding the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Welfare activities for the benefit of the citizens were aimed at understanding the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So here the Prachetas were being instructed by Lord Shiva so that they can become pure devotees, and in that way they'll be able to rule the kingdom very well. And at the same time, what was happening? Narad Muni went to King Prachinabarhi, King Barhishat, and he was instructing him. The human form of life is especially meant for understanding God, our relationship with Him, and our activities in His service. The human form of life is especially meant for understanding God, our relationship with Him, and our activities in His service. Because the kings took charge of the spiritual education of the citizens, both the king and the citizens were happy in Krishna consciousness. In this regard, we should remember that the monarchical hierarchy of Prachina Barhishat comes from Maharaj Dhruva, a great devotee of the Lord, and the most celebrated disciple of Narad Muni. Narad Muni had instructed Dhruv Maharaj, no? And he initiated him chanting the mantra. And Prachinabhari, he is coming in the line of Dhruv Maharaj. He was the grandson of Prithu Maharaj, right? The son was Antardan, grandson or great grandson, anyway, but coming in the line of Dhruv Maharaj. King Prachinabharishat was then too much engaged in fruitive activities due to performing different types of yagyas. One can actually be promoted to higher planetary systems or to the heavenly kingdoms by performing various yagyas. But there is no question of liberation or going back home, back to Godhead. When the great sage Narada saw that a descendant of Maharaj Dhruv was being misled by fruitive activities, Narada took compassion upon him and personally came to instruct him about the ultimate benediction of life, Bhakti Yoga. How Narad Muni indirectly introduced the Bhakti Yoga system to King Prachanabharishat is very interestingly described in this 25th chapter. So Narad Muni, so what Prachanabharishat was doing is he was doing a lot of yagyas, which are mentioned in the Vedas. But with those yagyas, what he would get was only to go to the heavenly kingdom, go to Swarglok, enjoy a lot, have a long life. But that would not take him to the spiritual world, will not give him liberation. So Narad Muni, he's so compassionate. Huh? He's being compassionate on the king and saying, oh my God, he's wasting his time. Let me go teach him, give him the proper knowledge. That's why he's come. He's saying, oh, he's coming in the line of Dhruv Maharaj. He's a descendant of Dhruv Maharaj, and his destination will be just to go to the heavenly planets. No. Let me give him the transcendental knowledge. So he gives him transcendental knowledge in the form of a story. It's a very interesting story he's going to tell King Prachinabharhi. You know, an analogous story, he will say. So we'll start reading the story tomorrow. No, sorry. Once
Tomorrow.
when we come back again. When we come back. It's a very interesting way that Narad Muni tells him. He's just giving him a scenario. You know, it's not that it's truly happening, but he's just making him realize through a story that what can happen. You know. So we'll stop here for today. Thank you so much for listening and joining in. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Shri Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Hare Krishna.